The man, the myth, the legend, ladies and gentlemen.
What up, sir?
What up, family? How are you?
I'm good, man. Can't complain.
Beautiful, beautiful. First and foremost, man, it's good to see you. In all this crazy time, you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure that all my family that I love know I love them. So I just want to send that love out to you and thank you for chopping it up with us today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So how you been coping? How you been dealing in this pandemic and all this craziness? Yeah, I mean, you like to get out there and run and gym and all of that. So how you been holding it down, bro?
It's actually been ill, man. Like, I thought I was going to miss the gym, but I like being outside now, walking around in the park, doing a little bit outside. So it's actually been helpful. I actually lost during this whole,
Word.
during this whole thing, just walking instead of being on the treadmill or the bike in the gym. It's even better. So, yeah, I can't complain on that side.
Awesome, awesome. Well, listen, man, ladies and gentlemen, Pharoahe Monch is here. He's one of your favorite MCs, legendary MC, legendary individual. Anytime I need him, he pop up for me. He's been contributing to hip hop for the longest time. So I just wanted to have him join us today in the tribe and get into this conversation. I'm loving the new joint, man. Same shit, different toilet. You and Styles again.
Yeah.
You and Styles, I got nice chemistry. We gonna get back into that later on. But talk to me about the joint, bro.
Oh man, you know the deal. I was over at Marco's working on a couple of different things, and he played a beat, and I was like, "What's that for?"
Right, exactly.
You know.
He was like, "Nah, that's tour beat." He was like, "I'm taking
Mhm.
it."
And so, I was like, "This got a vibe to it." Like the end of 2017, 2018, and I wrote a chorus and wrote a verse, and hollered at my man because I feel like his voice is just so prominent in those things because Styles is just so dope, man.
He
You know
really
what I'm saying?
is. He really is.
And his voice sounds like your cousin from up the street. You feel like he's family anyway. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So and then he's just a fast worker. I take so long to write. I sent it to him. He was like, "Yo, this is just soulful," and like bong bong bong. He sent it back in like 2 days.
Word.
And we just had it in the stash because people been saying they want to hear a full project from us, but I was like, let's start somewhere. He was like, let's go, keep them coming. You know what I mean? So I just threw that one in the stash, and then when these recent events happened, I went and I listened back to it, and he had a couple of lines in the song that just resonated so uniquely and unfortunately with what was happening. And so I was like, we got to let this go,
Absolutely. And like you said, man, people love to see y'all together. I was gonna ask if y'all ever had talks or thoughts about doing a full project together.
Definitely.
That would be crazy. It's so unfortunate that the music still resonates to this day in a negative way because of the circumstances that we're dealing with, because of the situations that we're dealing with. You've never been a stranger to voicing your opinion on shit like this. I mean, there's tons of records. There's Clap. There's When the Gun Draws. There's so many records where you talk about gun violence, where you talk about what's going on with the police. When you see us still in this mix, still in these conversations, still in these situations, man, just talk to me about your thoughts about it, how we can get past it. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think it's obviously, same shit, different toilet. But this is an unprecedented situation where the culmination of being home in the pandemic, quarantine, not having any escape, and everybody having to focus on this moment and not be able to move from it, I think culminated into what you're seeing right now. And it's just an amazing thing to see people coming together the way they're coming together. And at the same time, it's blowing my mind that I'm actually living in this time in a couple of different ways. I didn't think, 30 years ago in 2020, we'd still be dealing with these same issues. At the same time, I'm glad to be alive to see people come together like that to finally try to move past these situations as well, if that makes any sense,
No,
It
absolutely.
feels like, it's sad, but I'm glad to be alive and a part of this movement that's finally coming to a head.
Absolutely, and you know, this is a monumental movement, but you've been a part of a few different movements yourself, musically and culturally. Let's run through just a little bit of your start. How did Organize get on? You know, I don't want to go too far back, but let's just give the people, you know, the short abridged version of how we got to know Pharoahe Monch.
Prince Poe, shout out to Prince Poe. You know, back in those times, we really just went down in the basement and sharpened it up and worked at it until we felt it was right. And, you know, we presented it to the world. We didn't ask anybody to put us on. It was none of that. It was like, you hear what's happening. Go down there and sharpen your skills. And when you're ready, try to present it to the labels and to the world. You know, it was old school style, like label demo tape style.
Demo and shopping your demo?
Exactly.
How many people said no to Organize?
At first, Russell Simmons said no. But he also said no to Nas at the same time.
Right.
And then he came back around, and by that time we had went out to LA and landed the deal out there with Hollywood Basic.
For sure. Did you have any like trepidation about signing with a label that was so far away from home base?
We did, but they gave us so much room to breathe and artistic freedom. We were like, let's do it for that reason, you know?
Absolutely. And you guys went on to make a lot of classic records. And then eventually you chose to go solo. Talk to me about the separation with you and Prince Poe, and you know, did you always in the back of your mind say I want to do solo projects, or you know, what was your thought process behind it?
Nah, man, I was straight sports dude. So it was always team, focus and collab. If it wasn't for Prince, I don't think I was beatboxing, you know, when I first met him and shit. And then trying to get it better, I was like, I need to write some bars. So he's the inspiration and the courage for me even stepping up like that. By the time we got to after the third joint, I realized I had so much internally that I had to say. You know, I felt I needed to just vomit all that stuff out,
right?
You know, without incorporating anything else with it, because it was like, you know, I had accumulated a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes people when they see groups separate, you know, they think there's a conflict or a rift, but sometimes you have shit that you just want to get off your chest that you want to say as Pharoahe Monch,
right?
As a collective. You don't necessarily want people attached to every thought and everything that comes out of your head.
Right. Exactly.
For sure. So when you go into the process of making the debut album, Internal Affairs, talk to me about your mindset. You know, now there's no Prince Poe necessarily to go back and forth with. It's all 100% on you. What was your mind as you were putting that project together?
One of the things I did on some Rocky shit is, you know, truth be told, even with Organized Confusion as an underground group, we had like large budgets, and we were in Battery Studios across from Tribe, and we would see all the hot producers and all the hot groups, and it was a lot of mixing like that. When I went into the solo joint, you know, and I hooked up with Lee Stone, it was just like straight rhyme, ride my bike, you know, 10 miles to do vocals, which was in his closet. And I was loving that because it kind of stripped everything away.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, on some Rocky Train in Alaska type shit. And it felt good. You know, that's what I wanted to do because I was trying to find myself and, you know, even prove to myself, like, are you really ready to, you know, do this shit? So it was good to strip it down. So we stripped it all the way down.
For sure. You spoke a little bit about your writing process, how it takes you. You know how you take your time to really put together a verse. Where does that come from? You know, just the fact that you wanted to. Because some people think like I turn it over in 24 hours, or I did this album in 3 days. You know what I'm saying? Like, but your process has always been really think about it and make sure every line makes sense.
Well, sometimes it's like if I was loving the beat, it'll come right away. And I could knock it out. But even if it's something super simple, I just like to like sit and mold it. And you might hear it and be like, you took 2 weeks to write that, or you took this time to write that. But, you know, even if it's like,
Nobody ever says that about you, Pharaoh.
what I'm saying, you know what I mean? You know, I like to let it sit and marinate and, you know, sit with it for a minute.
For sure. So Simon Says, right? Big record, you know, for you as a solo artist, even probably bigger than anything you did with the Organized. Is that a bittersweet memory for you? Because the record goes crazy. It's a underground hit. It's moving in different spaces. It's kind of moving out of the underground, and then you get hit with the shenanigans. You know, talk to me about that whole time in that process.
I mean, it is bittersweet. It is a gift and a curse in a sense, and but if I could go to the like end result, it's been amazing because the record still resonates. I think a lot of, you know, if I could go back, I would change a lot of the business shit, obviously.
Right.
But I love the record, man. And to this day, I perform it like the shit came out this summer. You know what I mean? I'm honestly like not tired of doing the record, and I think that's a gift in itself because I hear a lot of artists be like, I'm so tired of my hit or whatever. But if anybody who's seen me rock, I get up there like the shit just came out, you know. So I have a joy for the song, even though, you know, the turmoil and, you know, shit that it went through with the lawsuit and everything.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, man, the shit just is not, it still feels so fresh. It's still so energetic. It's just one of those timeless records. And you kind of already answered this, but because so many artists do get just attached to their biggest record or pigeonholed into that space, or that's all people want to see or hear from them. You didn't really have that experience with Simon Says.
Nah, I knew immediately, like, after that record, as an artist, I was like, I'm not ever trying to fuck with doing a part 2 of that record or whatever. So I just left to where my spirit took me and where my art took me in terms of what's really real. Because even when you do that, I think in hip hop, if it's not genuine and it's not heartfelt, it's detectable. You know what I'm saying? It has to be organic, else people are like, what are you trying to do? You know.
Now we hear it, we feel it.
Right. You gotta feel it. So if it came about, you know, there were a couple of close calls where I had things that were close on that energy spectrum. But for the most part, man, I just left that energy and just went into, you know, the Desire joint and the War joint and whatever, man. Just like rap.
For sure. There was a little hiatus between Internal Affairs and the next time we heard you on Desire, which was your next full-length release. What was going on in that time period?
Fucking lawsuits, label battles, touring, and you know, I would have to say the bulk of that period, I was enjoying the fruits of my labor in terms of touring on like major tours and festivals and, you know, Rock the Bells and all types of shit with tour buses. And I wasn't really even stressing it. I was stuck in a lawsuit, but I wasn't really stressing it because, you know, I had landed in all these writing and publishing situations that I just was like, fuck it. And then, you know, it came about that Quad's manager at the time was like, yo, you got all this music. It's not godly for you to hold it. You know, I was playing shit on the tour bus, and he was like, this is incredible. Like, how can you hold all this music? So when I got back off a tour, I went and sorted a situation out, you know. And around that time, people were going independent. I remember Boogie Blind telling me you should do it independent. But I landed another huge deal, and so I did it.
Right.
You know,
Steve cut that check?
Yeah, they cut the check.
What was the lawsuit actually? Did it prohibit you from releasing music when you stuck in the contract and you couldn't get out? Like, what was the whole? Obviously, we know it was the Godzilla sample, but what stopped you from being able to continue to release music?
Well, I was still on the contract, and so what was happening was those debts that were being paid because of the lawsuit was scrambling up my chess moves for me to move throughout different situations with industry people who wanted to fuck with me.
Got you. And you spoke about your writing and publishing opportunities. As somebody who's an MC who comes from a certain cloth and a certain level of inspiration. I always laugh sometimes at the music that I'm creating. Not laugh at the music, but just laugh at the opportunity and the rooms that I'm in and the people I'm working with. Now I know you wrote for Puff, and that's a story that we don't hear a lot about. Can you talk to us about the time working with Puff or Diddy or Puff? I don't know who he was at the time, but just like Pharoahe Monch, who's like lyrical alien MC, Diddy, who was almost like the polar opposite of that cloth, right? Talk to me about that.
That shit was dope, man. It was around the same time that I was finishing up on Desire. I was out in Detroit with Denon,
Shout out to
Guilty,
shout out to Guilty,
and Black Milk.
shout out to Milk.
And you know, the opportunity came, and I flew to New York to talk to him about it, and it was dope because he was playing me music that he wanted on the album, and the shit was like Denon, Havoc, and like all these ill producers that I was listening to the beats like, shit, man. Like, I did this beat. And he was like, I want you to do you, you know, I want you to do you, I want you to do you. And then I played him some music. You know, he was like, what are you working on? And I played him some music. And at the time, he was interested in signing as well, but I was like, Bad Boy is not
too crazy. The shiny flight suit, right?
Exactly.
So you do the music, you do the joints with Diddy, and we never heard it. It didn't come out. Did he ever give you a reasoning as to why the record didn't drop?
No. It's two on the Press Play album that I wrote.
Okay.
Yeah, that I'm credited for. So I'm proud of that, and I learned a lot from him. I can't forget to say that. In terms of his work ethic, is pretty unmatched. You know, just in terms of working on building a song and production as well. And I really worked hard in writing those records because I was in Miami the whole time. And I left there with the feeling of, I will never work as hard on your shit than I will on mine ever again.
Right.
And I thank him for that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny, man. I was just in Miami in that same situation in the camp and writing, and I was like, yo, I gotta go this hard on my shit. Like, you know, I'm really
he was pushing me. Yeah.
For sure. And you spoke to the fact that he wanted to sign you. Another person that we know had interest in signing you was Eminem and Shady Records. Man, talk to me about that conversation. And obviously, you opted not to do that. But what was that whole time like?
It was a very, very, very fucking exciting fucking time. Let me stop cursing. It was a very exciting time, you know, because I had literally said, I don't want to do this project unless it's with them. Like, it's where I wanted to go in my spirit. And I was like, he's going to understand, you know, he's going to understand the music that I bring. And then it was just a lot of red tape with the crossing of the labels and the intricacies of me switching over from, you know, contract to contract. And that's kind of where it got all tied up.
Got it. And that the business always fucks up the creative. Well, not always, but 99% of the time, it seems like in these conversations that I've been having on my Live at 5, the business always convolutes the creative, and at some point, you just got to do something different. But I think that would have been so crazy because Eminem is, and also an MC, right? But he's also of a very, very rare cloth, and you guys are cut from that same cloth, a very technical, very like multi-syllable, just like intricate. He would have totally understood it, and I think with that machine behind it, it could have been something crazy. But you went on to just make incredible, crazy music anyway. So then you go fully independent. You know, you do one with Duck Down, right? You start your career, your recording career with Duck Down. How did that come about? What was those conversations like with Drew and Buck?
Amazing again, you know, and shout out the guy. He pushed me into that as well because we were still on a major, and we didn't bully our way out. We just was like, what's the point of this anymore? And so we wanted to go straight independent, but we thought, why not mess with one of the independent labels that's been doing this for years and years and know what they're doing, and kind of sit with them, partner with them, and watch and learn from Drew and Buck how they get down, and they allowed us to do that. And that album, man, you know, is very, very proud of that record too.
Super fire. You don't have a weak joint in the catalog though. You know, every album speaks to a different time, but it's always super sharp. You know, a lot of times, or oftentimes, we see a lot of our favorites. You know, they start, listen, Father Time is unmatched, right? Michael Jordan missed a lot of shots in them last games. But you stay razor sharp, and you haven't lost a step. What do you attribute that to? The fact that you still as good, or if not better, than we've always known you to be?
Well, I was patting myself on the back until I was in a conversation with KP one time. Shout out to KP. And he said, my nigga, if you only put out one album every 7 years, then that shit should be fire. So don't pat yourself on the back too hard.
KP keeping it 100.
Yeah.
Gotta love
keeping
that.
it 100. So yeah, you know, it's been sparingly, and I love this shit, man. I love the artistry of lyricism. I'm making songs. I appreciate that people support, so I take it very seriously. You know what I'm saying? Which is why I may be a little, I wouldn't say gun shy. I just want to like get the shit the way I envision it before I put it out.
For sure. You know, something that we've been seeing from Andre 3000 recently is that, you know, he's afraid at this point to put out a music. He feels like he's held in such a high regard, and he doesn't know if, you know what I'm saying? Like just that self-doubt that a lot of people, especially us creatives, man, people don't understand.
Right.
For as much as everybody gives you flowers and 180 great things that somebody say, it's that one thing that'll hang on you and you'll sit with. The time that you take between projects is due to what?
It's a couple of things. With this one, it's a little different, and it's a little fly because it's not just a Pharoahe Monch project. It's I wanted to come out on a whole different level. So it's myself, a drummer named Daru Jones,
Shout out to
a
Daru,
guitarist named Marcus Machado, and it's called 13. And it is the hardest, darkest. Lyricism is at a higher level that I've been at in a long time, as co-signed by Guy Rute. And it's just dope, man. And I wanted to do something different. You know, I love dark hip hop. I love, you know, all the Havoc joints and the Mobb Deep dark shit. So it kind of feels like Mobb Deep meets Led Zeppelin.
Crazy. I wanted to speak to your rock influences because for as much as you are revered in hip hop, that is not the only sound, that's not the only music that we've ever heard you make. And I've had the pleasure of hearing some whole other shit just, you know what I'm saying, as we were chilling and playing joints, right? So talk to me about just your influence outside of the hip hop realm, and as a creative, why you like to tap into those boxes.
They moved me growing up. You know, I was surrounded by gospel, the Jacksons, the whole soul movement, the whole jazz movement, and the rock movement. You know, my brothers and sister was playing all types of music in the house, so I gravitated to a little bit of everything. But then when I discovered like Sabbath, Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, Rush, it was something about the drumming with those records and the timing of those records that still felt like hip hop to me. Like it was certain sections in a Led Zeppelin record that I would be like, I would spit over the section.
Crazy.
And it was hard, and it was funky. And if I could get away with sampling it, I would. So I just reached a point in my career of growth where I'm like, yo, let's go for it. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's get that vibe. Let's create that vibe ourselves. Hire the right guns. And I'm so blessed to work with Marcus and Daru because they're the pathway to that sound I was hearing, you know?
For sure. You have a date, a time frame. Obviously, we're dealing with a pandemic and a revolution. But do you have a date that you got your eyes set on for the release?
We're looking at Friday the 13th. Or Halloween.
We got to see what month. When is Friday the 13th? Damn, today Friday the 12th. We could have had it today, y'all. you have a you have an affinity with the number 13.
Yeah. So that's the side of me that's like that people are gonna hear on this shit. That's pretty much like saying the shit that Pharoahe might not say, and that's saying a lot. It's super hard. It's super aggressive. It reads like a book to what's happening now, even though it's predated. The album is predated. You know, it speaks about the ills of what's happening now in a very aggressive way, though. You know, it's not nice. It's not nothing nice at all. It's like it's time. You know what I mean? It's time to fight back against this shit. So it has a lot of angst to it.
It's so crazy, for lack of a better word, to hear you say that, because you've always been one to push the boundaries creatively, what you were doing with your voice, the way you would use it as an instrument, from singing to shouting to rocking to rapping to, like you spoke, to gospel, and just, you know, so it's almost unimaginable what you're doing lyrically and musically on this next project. So why Friday the 13th or Halloween?
The group is called 13. You know, I have a history with the number. The shit is super ominous, you know, super dark, and it's super hardcore. And we want to keep that theme going. You know what I mean? You want to keep a theme to the record.
Sure.
You know, and it's like, you know, it's like this. What we dealing with is so evil, I feel, that it needs to be exorcised. And exorcism is not such a bad thing when we're talking about what people have been dealing with in this country.
Right.
And so we hitting them with a lot of that. You know what I mean? And it's for real. And it's so crazy. I think it's right on time. I'm usually a little ahead of time, but I think this is right on time based in terms of what's happening right now.
I'm sure when we hear it, it's going to still sound futuristic to us mere mortals. You and Styles P. So you said that you were open to doing a project. Do you guys have more joints in the tuck? Is that something we should be looking forward to? Because Styles' productivity, like, he dropped damn near every quarter. Pharoahe dropped like every 4 years.
It'll be easy to do just based on this Same Shit Different Toilet song. He's that good. You know what I'm saying? Styles is a GOAT, man. Like, I sent him the joint. I didn't even have to explain. He was just like, yo, boom, boom, boom. Give me a couple days. I got you. So I would basically have to get the work done and get it to him, and then we could get the project. That's how that shit would have to work.
Absolutely. Well, that'd be something that, like, I mean, you guys' track record together is amazing. Two incredible MCs, two incredible dudes. Like, y'all both just the bros, y'all big bros. But musically, when y'all get together, it's always something super duper special. Before I let you go, as the world is opening its eyes and so many people are either fighting for change, fighting against change, and some people are just going along with it because it's the thing to do. We've seen a lot of brands, we've seen a lot of businesses, we've seen a lot of record labels all speak to Black Lives Matter and you know, donating money to various movements and things like that. What's your thought on it all? Because some of it, to me, honestly, is bullshit. It's ingenuine, and you know, you're doing it because you look crazy if you don't.
Right.
Where's the real, actual change and love gonna happen?
Well, we'll be able to see as we move forward in terms of people's actions. You know, a movement can become fashionable, which is, you know, what we see sometimes. And there's a lot of things in this movement that has so much nuance and so layered, it's difficult to explain it over the internet sometimes.
Right.
So, you know, you can't get, I don't want to get discouraged when I'm like, I go on Amazon and the shit is like, Black Lives Matter.
Right.
You know,
that part.
Get your delivery free, you know.
Yo, that shit and like Postmates, oh, we deliver free for Black owned businesses. Like, what are we doing, man? That
Exactly.
shit don't mean nothing.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do the meaningful shit. Us as Knicks fans, I was not surprised at all to, I might be saying former Knicks fan after this, but I was not surprised at all at the statement that came from James Dolan in the Garden. It was very, they said it was not whitewash. They said it was some shit. I forget the terminology they called, but it was just super like PC, but not PC because this is not the time to be PC. And everybody looked sideways at it. What were your thoughts when you saw the statement from the Garden?
Sigh.
Sigh.
I mean, you know, he presents himself as that dude, which is, you know, I thought about it, to be quite honest with you. You know, you want people to step up and be bold and blatant in their stance. But as soon as he made the statement as a Knicks fan, I'm like, you're costing us fucking players right now. That was my thought. Like,
of course.
Like, what are you doing? So, you know, but from what I heard, he recanted and drew up another email, you know, internal email. So I don't know, man. It's just a disappointment. He's a disappointment. The team's a disappointment.
Yo, and I've been through the bottom of the bottom with the organization, right? But that right there at this time, it really made me put pause. And there's no basketball anyway, so it's a little easier. But it put a pause on my Knicks fandom because it's never about the players. It's never about, you know, the actual building of Madison Square Garden. That whole franchise and energy surrounding it is just shitty. It's just shitty. I might be on pause until Dolan sells the team or something drastic has to happen, man. Because it's like, this is not the time for that shit. This is not the time for that.
This whole situation shined a light on my fandom as well. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, truth be told, we all have our vices, and we had none of that to run to.
Right.
Kind of like take a break from the 24-hour cycle of tragedy. So it makes you re-examine yourself and then re-examine what you truly love. And if it's not worthy, I think, like you said, you're either going to pause it or you're going to chop it off, being removed from this, coming back from that. So we'll see what happens, you know, but I think everybody is thinking that way. And the other side is thinking that way too. As this ignites, you know, a whole movement, the other side that, you know, is the antithesis of that movement is being ignited as well. And we got to be aware of that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pharoahe, thank you so much, man. We've been trying to make this happen for a number of weeks, but we finally got it going. The single is out there right now. Same shit, different toilet. If you don't have it, if you haven't streamed it, if you haven't been listening to me on live every day, because I've been playing it since I got it, which was early, definitely support it, man. Pharoahe, we love you. We only have conversations with people who deserve the flowers.
I appreciate you, bro.
We want to make sure that you know that you are superhuman, legendary, very important to the culture, to lyricism, to all things that are associated with greatness about hip hop, man. Do you before I let you go, do you feel that? Do you feel like people say, yo, you got a record with Pharoahe, yo, he a legend? I'm like, yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? Do you feel that?
I do, man. It's a blessing, and every day I give thanks, and I'm grateful for that. And it's part of what I try to hold the standard up to, like you were saying with Andre. So knowing that that's the energy that supports me, you know what I'm saying? And my brand is very boutique. It's obviously not all over the globe on some McDonald's shit. It's like 3 cupcake shops in New York City. So I treat it that way. And I welcome people in, and I appreciate when they appreciate my services as well. So I do feel that, and that's why I take so much time to put into the music. But I love you too, man. I just want to say that, and I thank you for having me on your platform. I appreciate you. I'm watching you, and it's all love, and same back to you.
Thank you, King. I super appreciate it. Once all this craziness is over, I'm sure I'll see you out. You know what I mean? We'll have some good times and some good shit to talk about, Lord willing.
Definitely.
My brother. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable, incredible Pharoahe Monch, live at 5. You know what we do.